Justin and Jai are a couple of guys who know they're gonna die, so they're biding time by consuming content and wasting their breath. It's a podcast called Amusing Ourselves to Death. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Amusing Ourselves to Death, a podcast where with Jai Peck.
Hello.
And myself, Justin, where we discuss things that we like.
Yeah, basically we have a broad parameter of movies, television, video games, music, virtual reality experiences. Maybe we'll go to an escape room.
Yeah.
Just things that we like, and we're going to deconstruct, break down, opinionize.
Yeah, everything that people like and that we like or don't like.
More like what we like. I mean, we want to talk about things we don't like.
It's really about us. I really don't. Yeah. We don't. There's enough negativity
There's a lot
in the world.
Prep work involved, you know.
There
I'm not
is.
just gonna spend time on Pretty Little Liars season 1.
Pretty Little Liars?
Pretty Little Liars.
I thought you meant Big Little Lies.
Big Little Lies. It's also Dirty Little Weasels.
Maybe we should do a trifecta of Dirty Little Weasels, Big Little Lies, and Pretty Little Liars. Pretty Little Lies.
I'm gonna add to the list.
Okay.
But we're here today to talk about season 1 of the HBO original series, The Leftovers.
Yes. It's a great show. This is actually, I should say, the first episode that we're doing of this.
First episode.
May not be another one ever again, but we are covering the entirety of season 1 of The Leftovers in, I don't know how many parts this will be.
Right. But
probably
we'll be covering all the plot points of just season 1. I don't believe we'll be getting into season 2 or 3.
No.
At least not in any substantial way.
Right. Just kind of really focus on...
Yeah. So you know, like spoiler warning, it ends with Nora Durst on the porch with a new baby.
Okay, yeah, so it's just out there. So if you haven't shut it off by this point,
it's a woman holding a baby and another man smiling as a new family forms. After,
I don't think he was smiling.
He was somewhat relieved. I don't know. There was a look of some kind of relief after a fucking horrible winter.
Well, yeah, I think it was
going to war with a cult in your hometown.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. So The Leftovers is a show that premiered on HBO in
June 29th, 2014.
June 29th, 2014.
Yeah. Did you watch it? Did you watch it live week to week?
I did.
Yeah. Same here.
Well, I was watching. I think they were like promoting it a lot before Game of Thrones. So I kept seeing these trailers for it, and I was like, what the fuck is this show? And they kept showing that shot of like Tommy like in the pool screaming.
Right.
And,
like the two people jumping off the building.
Yeah.
They showed a lot of scenes from like that one party, the kids' party, just like go crazy. It's like, well, okay, this is young people hooking up and burning themselves with forks. You know, this is...
They're really going for it. They really made it seem like insane, whereas... The first it's a very slow burn series. So by episode 10, things are totally off the rails. But that if you go, I don't know. I remember watching the first episode live and just being like, "Oh, that was pretty good." Like I really like Justin Theroux. I don't know where this is going.
Right.
But
I was a big Lost fan. This show is written by Damon Lindelof and Tom Perrotta, who also wrote the book The Leftovers.
So wait, did both of them do Lost?
No, just Tom Perrotta's a novelist. He also did the book Election, which turned into the movie Election.
With Matthew Broderick?
Yes. He wrote that book. He also wrote the book A Little Children. And there's a new show he actually has coming on HBO called Mrs. Fletcher.
Oh.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a writer who just kind of deals with like a lot of like I wouldn't call them mundane topics, but like there's very just kind of interior lives of people. Sometimes they're just like bored. Like the book compared to the series is wildly different. We can get into that later.
Yeah,
I did end up reading the book once I heard this was picked up to be a show. I'm a completist. I like to just like let me start at the beginning.
All media.
Start at the beginning. Yes. You know, I don't want to be leave anything to chance. I like to be fully informed.
Right.
I don't want to be one of those people who are like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
Table.
Don't hit the table.
We're doing this also, I want to say, in my living room on a fold-up table. I just my living situation, I have no furniture.
Right. This is my old work table.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of fond memories of dragging this into City Hall in Philadelphia and setting it up at 7 a.m. putting laptops on it. So
yeah.
It's good to see.
I'm glad that it's back with you. Yeah, you love to see it.
Yeah, I love to see it.
So you read the book. Okay, so you're more of a completist. I went in totally blind, didn't know anything about it. I think I found out later that it was part of Damon Lindelof was involved. And I have reservations about him because Lost, I feel I was furious with the ending. I feel like that totally fell apart at the end and just kind of like went, I don't know. It became more about the mystery and like figuring out what's happening.
Right.
I feel like I don't know.
You just weren't a fan of the Flash side. Spoilers for Lost.
Oh yeah, spoilers for Lost.
Whatever.
Well, fuck you if you haven't watched it yet.
Come on, it's everywhere. You should have been there.
Yeah, and if you missed it, don't bother. That's what I tell people now. They're like, I'm thinking about like should I watch it? And I just tell them no.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my brother-in-law to watch it.
I'm gonna call him and tell him no.
Don't know. He's got enough to do.
Yeah.
But I was a huge fan of Lost. I did dive out, like I dipped out in like season 2 for a bit, but then I heard it got good again, so I got back on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
And I was pretty much into it the whole way, mainly because it was one of the first shows that had a kind of a weekly podcast with the creators, Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse, where they kind of dived into each episode. I keep saying dive in.
It's okay.
They explored the episode and they previewed the next week's episode. They talked about filmmaking, about the writing. They just kind of, they had a whole mailbag.
Yeah.
And they were just kind of had a conversation with the fans. So that was just kind of one of the first. They were the first showrunners that I can recall that actually did something like that. So
like peek behind the scenes,
sort
of thing.
Yeah. So it was the week to week that I really enjoyed.
That's cool. Like, yeah, I liked it pretty much the whole time. I started watching live. I believe I caught the season. Oh no, season 2. Mm-hmm. All right, so I never watched it. I remember my mom was trying to get me to watch it, and I was like, "Well, what's it about?" And she's like, "Well, it's about they're people on an island and they crash landed there and they don't know what's happening." And I was like,
she's like, "There's a smoke monster,
like Gilligan's Island, whatever. I don't care." So I told my mom, I was like, "I don't know." I even back then, before there was too much content, I was very like snobby,
right?
But like I had to like pick and choose. So like eventually my friends were watching it and I caught the first thing I ever saw of Lost was the finale of season 2 where what's his son's name? They took my boy.
Oh, Walt.
Yeah, when they come up, it's like we're taking the child.
No, that's season 1.
No, that's the end of season 2, isn't it?
That's season 1.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I saw the end of season 1.
They get him back in the end of season 2.
Oh.
So this is a show about the leftovers, by the way.
Yeah. It relates.
It does relate. There actually is some really interesting like visual similarities with Lost and the Leftovers, and even an episode that takes place in a cabin that was like, oh yeah, remember they take Sawyer's father.
Cairo.
Yeah. It's just like, let's just get our main characters into a cabin together and see what happens.
Yeah.
This one had more blood though.
But yeah, no, that was the first thing I saw of Lost, and I was like, oh, that's pretty crazy. I saw the moment they took his son, and so I binged and caught up for season 2, I guess it was, and then 3 I dropped off because it got real boring, and then 4 brought me back.
This is back when you had to do work to catch up on shows. You had to like find the DVD set.
Yep.
Maybe your cable provider had a on-demand service. You can watch episodes again. They didn't make it easy like they do now.
No.
And some, I would argue, they make it too easy. I think you just have to work to get your TV.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, work for it. Download some illegal torrents, just to catch up.
Yeah. I don't know. That's what I did. Is I had a hookup who would just download stuff illegally, and that's
Pirate
how I watched
Bay,
Lost.
baby.
Yep. Yeah, I think back then it was. Yeah, it might have been Pirate Bay. Anyway, the Leftovers. So yeah, that's why I was a little hesitant because he also is involved. I think it's him with that new show on Hulu, the Stephen King one, Castle Rock.
Okay.
I think he's also involved in that, and I was just like, I don't know. It's always like a lot of like, I worry that the mystery becomes the focus, and they don't know, much like Stephen King, don't know how to end things.
Yeah, the mystery is always more interesting than the actual reveal of what's behind the mystery,
Right.
Yeah. JJ Abrams had that whole thing, the mystery box, the box on the outside looks beautiful and mysterious, and then you open it up and there's just like some tissue paper.
Yeah.
So
that's what I love about this show is that it's not.
Yeah, they were before the show even aired, like in all the press with Lindelof and Parada, they were just like, we're not going to answer what happened to the people who disappeared. We don't care.
Do you think they were bitter because like everybody guessed the ending of Lost in the first 2 weeks, and they were like, it's purgatory, and they're like, no.
Yeah.
I think it might be like the fuck you.
Yeah. It's like, oh, my last lover, they did this, so my next relationship, I'm gonna, change everything about them, So change it.
It's healthy.
It's very healthy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a great show. Like, all right. So
it's a show that really stuck with me. I mean, this is the first show that I remember like just affecting me emotionally. Like there are still moments throughout the series that make me literally tear up. I'm not, I'm like, oh, just. it's not like you type LOL, but you're not really laughing. Like, this show legit makes me tear up at certain parts.
Yeah, it makes you feel things.
It's a very emotionally manipulative show with the music and the acting, and I mean, that's what really all drama is manipulating your emotions.
Yeah,
so.
Right. I agree. I didn't cry this time through. I don't remember if I cried I remember there's just moments where rewatching it, I forgot how good it was. I remember loving it.
Yeah.
But by episode 10, like 8, 9, 10, I was just like, there were moments that I forgot about where I was like, oh my God. It was just like so fucked up. And I don't know. I get goosebumps thinking about it now. I definitely get chills. But yeah, I don't know. I wanted to try a thing we talked about earlier about summarizing this show.
Okay.
Like quickly. Like it's like elevator pitch type thing, but not, I don't know. Like elevator pitches, 2% of the world's population disappear.
Right.
And then a town has to live with the grief of it, or how it affects
elevator
people.
pitch. So beyond that initial,
like if you could summarize the story
Yeah.
of how from the beginning of season 1 to the end, as simply as you can without going too much into the weeds, which we're going to do. But I thought that'd be fun to try to, because there's so much happening.
I'd say it focuses on a small town in upstate New York who are adjusting to
Mapleton,
New York, a fictional bedroom community, and they're adjusting to the departure 3 years later. Kind of, like, the initial. It's like the pilot opens. Well, this is not an elevator pitch, so I guess that's the best elevator pitch. Yeah.
No, 2% of the world's population vanishes.
It's almost just it's like short stories set amongst various connected characters in upstate New York dealing with the departure 3 years later.
It's a global event.
And their despair and their grief and the way they are dealing with this catastrophic event that has no answer and probably never will.
Right.
It has no. It's like such an ambiguous event. It's not. It doesn't have like a clear defining image. Like you think of like 9/11. It's like you can picture like, oh, the World Trade Center is on fire. Here is just like people gone all over the world, and there's not like a clear,
there's no focus of blame.
Right.
Like at least 9/11, they're like they came up with somebody.
There's a
like,
narrative
this person
to
did
it. Yeah, here it's just like this thing happened, and now it's like this cosmic gun that was pointed at all of us. Like this could happen again.
Yeah, that's the tension of it. Yeah, it's like what?
Yeah,
like living every day, like just like
the laws of the universe have been upturned, and the guilty remnant is there, just like, don't forget about this. Like there's people going back to your jobs and like going on vacation and having cookouts, and they're basically the embodiment of like depression. Like no, like there's this void, this white void, and smoking, and
stop distracting yourself.
Stop amusing yourself to death with HBO original television shows. So.
But yeah, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen it in a while, so it's like 2% of the world's population vanishes. You got Kevin Garvey, who's like the sheriff. Right.
He's the chief of police.
Police. Yeah. But it's mostly focused on his family.
Yeah, he's definitely the focal point of the series in general.
The gateway for the audience. And then like all these cults start popping up. Mainly the guilty
remnant is like a big presence in their town. Yep. They all wear white. They smoke cigarettes. They follow people. They're doing surveillance, which we eventually find out the reason why is to see when they're not home, so they could break in and put real dolls in their kitchens and bedrooms, and
I want to get into that after. It's one of the most horrifying things.
Just to not let them forget. Yeah. Don't forget.
Well, in the beginning, though, it just seems like they're just antagonistic, which they kind of are.
Yeah.
But basically it's this cult. They all dress in white. They smoke cigarettes. They don't speak.
Right.
They all live in this commune. They bought out all like this little cul-de-sac.
It's a cul-de-sac, and they have like 3 or 4 houses.
Yeah.
Which all are on fire by the end of the season.
But then they tend to travel in pairs, and they stand outside people's houses and just smoke and watch you. And characters respond just in different ways, mostly violent. Like the town, it's been 3 years. I don't remember.
Right. It's been
when
3 years.
They formed.
Right. I mean, they're in the book. They go a little bit just like kind of short, almost like 6 or 10 months after the departure.
Oh, okay.
But like. There's a lot of just tension because like it's 3 years later, and also that in the pilot episode we do see like this government commission has been formed, and it's just like all these scientists and religious leaders, and they're like, after like a 22-month investigation, we don't know what happened. Yeah. And it's this press conference, like Kevin Garvey's getting ready to go to work, and you see it on the TV,
Yeah, and the guy's like, what do you mean? You don't know what happened?
You don't know.
And it's like, yeah, and I don't know. It seems like everybody's just... I had like... I don't know.
People were pissed off.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just...
It gave me like flashbacks to the 9/11 Commission, where they were just like, didn't really... You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just emotions are heightened and you're waiting to find out about this thing, but like nothing's going to satisfy you.
Right. When the Mueller report came out earlier this year, this scene reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, geez, after like 2 years, like just nothing really.
Fucking,
no one's coming to save us.
Yeah. It's that, I don't know. It's that hero fantasy where you think that surely somebody will step in and do something.
Surely
some kind
Iron
of
Man
Superman.
and Thor and Hulk are around the corner, right? They got our backs.
Yeah.
Right?
I was in, I do comedy. I was in a rehearsal once and Dan, who was coaching us, I remember he said something about how like when we're at a global point of like, or when our society is kind of like at its most despair or like most like whatever, I don't know, like fantastic movies like become very popular. Like that's why Marvel's so insanely popular right now because it's escapist.
Right.
So people are just looking for some kind of relief, which makes total sense. Yeah, it's just like, oh man, what a great world where like there are these people with abilities that could help us.
Because like before 9/11, it was just all like the epitome of like 90s films were just like characters like, am I happy enough?
Oh yeah.
Being in the suburbs sure does suck, you know?
Man, I have it tough. Yeah.
So what we're saying is we're pro 9/11.
Yeah. We're pro 9/11. That's what this podcast is seriously about. Hashtag pro 9/11.
Yeah. It made our culture better.
Yeah. I don't think the leftovers would have existed if it wasn't for 9/11.
Probably not. No.
Right.
No.
So much great content, you know? Anyway, should we just go down the list of people? I wrote down all the characters.
Yeah, let's go through them.
Okay.
Like that's the first season? Sorry.
This is all the first season. Yeah. The IMDb page, it was all mixed together, but these are the ones I think that are memorable.
Yeah, let's go through them.
Tell me if I miss anything.
Okay.
Kevin Garvey, played by Justin Theroux.
Justin 2% body fat Theroux.
Yeah, as chief of police of Mapleton. Only because... I guess because his father went insane.
His father went crazy, so they're like, who else can take over the Mapleton Police District? How about his kid?
Yeah. Loves to jog.
Yeah.
In sweatpants.
Loves tattoos.
Loves tattoos.
Yeah. A lot of tattoos.
Those aren't his real
tattoos. They are his real tattoos.
Okay.
And the production apparently was just like, well, to cover these up for, all the scenes is just not worth it. So we'll put it into his character,
That back tattoos.
Yeah.
Awful. It's a bit much. Because I was just like, it just felt like an odd decision for the show.
Yeah.
And then it only popped into my mind on a rewatch being like, I wonder if that's actually his.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's like all over the promotional art. I have the season 1 Blu-ray. You can see it's just like him just punching a wall and just full of despair.
He does a lot of punching in this show.
Yeah, he does do a lot of punching.
I did write down all of the because I guess we should get into it now while we're on him. He is a cop and he's not a very good cop.
Not a great cop.
He does a lot of questionable things, but he's also like on the fringe of losing his mind. Like his father. So his father, Kevin Garvey Sr., was the chief of police.
Right.
He starts hearing voices.
He gets burned down the library.
Yeah, he tries to burn down the library.
Yeah.
He injured somebody. They mentioned at some point that because Jill asks her father, it's like, did Grandpa hurt anybody? Right. And he's like, yes. I don't know if they really got into the specifics of that. There's a lot of flashbacks of like in the pilot of his father running naked.
Yeah, which is clearly someone else because like Scott Glenn is very ripped and this guy's just like a little flabby and it's just like, okay, they just didn't have him at the point. So.
Exactly.
Pilots are a little messy usually.
Yeah, usually. They shoot him ahead of time. And
then they had like a 6-month break between like the season's episode 2 sometimes, if that.
And there's a lot of pressure on him too because it's like that's the selling point. It's like
you're creating an engine for a show that ideally would sustain itself for like 5 to 7 years.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find it here. Okay. These are the things that Kevin does throughout the show that I wasn't writing him down at first, so I may have missed some.
Okay. But these are reasons to disqualify him as a police
officer.
Yeah. Let's go through.
Let's act like we're at the Joint Commission for Kevin Garvey's resignation.
Mapleton City Council.
Yeah, Mapleton City Council. Mr. Garvey, can you speak to this? There's a scene where the Guilty Remnant he asks them to not protest at the school there's some kind of
the
gala he puts together.
Yeah, the Christmas dance.
Yeah, he baits them though. Basically, Patty, the head of the Guilty Remnant, he invites her down to the police station, and he's like, I want to ask you not to protest.
Okay.
And because he knows she's going to. But then she also, this is the whole night where they steal everybody's Christmas photos.
Right.
Or it's near Christmas. They steal everybody's photos. They break everybody's houses.
Social media doesn't exist in Mapleton.
Right, yeah.
We need the actual photos to do our job.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Wow. And Matt's even making all these flyers. He could have just started an Instagram account.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, so he tells them not to come. So, of course, they do. But they aren't on school property. And there's a point where I didn't write down his name, but his, like one of the other cops.
Yeah. Like his punching
John,
bag, like lower rank cop who was just like always yelling at.
Yes. So. He's like, hey, like, they're not, like, Kevin, they're not on school property. And Kevin's just like, oh, well, sorry, word against theirs. Looks like they're on property.
Looks
to
like
me,
property
until they immediately just go over and arrest all of them, even though they're not. So he lies about that.
Yeah.
Drives drunk, I think, more than once.
Oh, right, yeah. And you know, he goes to buy like a pack of beer. And, the kid at the counter's like, sorry, I can't sell to anybody who's inebriated.
And Kevin's like, inebriated?
Yeah.
I'm not
17-year-old kid. And the kid's like, all right, whatever, you know.
Yeah, he shows him his badge. He's like, he won't get in trouble.
Right.
Yeah. But then, before he drives home, like after he puts his case of beer in his car or whatever, Kevin's been having this issue where all of his shirts have been going missing.
Whoops.
His white shirts.
Really brief side point on that. Like, are you supposed to be getting your white collar shirts dry cleaned? Because I just put them in the laundry.
Yeah.
I wear a lot of dress shirts for work. I'm like, I'm not going to the dry cleaners every week.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. He's got those badges and stuff on him, so maybe it's like... I don't know.
Maybe there's some kind of deal with the police department and the laundry, the dry cleaners.
It's kind of seedy deal.
Yeah.
But because he goes there earlier in the day, and he gets pissed off because all of his shirts are missing. He has no idea where they are.
Right.
And then the guy who owns the laundromat won't go back and check. He's like, we don't have your shirts. You don't have a tag.
No ticky, no laundry.
Yeah. So Kevin, the guy's closing up shop, and Kevin just bangs on the windows, and he's like, let me in. And he's like, sir, we're closed. And basically just like,
starts
fuck you, you're
slamming
closed.
on the door. Yeah.
And then just goes in and like, doesn't hold him at gunpoint, but like threatens him.
He's just like, I mean, he knows he's a cop, I would imagine. It's a small town.
Well, he even holds up his badge.
He holds up the badge, yeah. But like he gives like Kevin like a bunch of shirts that I guess are his size because he doesn't question it. It's not like he gives him like a bunch of
look, white shirts. Here's your white shirts. He's like terrified.
They're all like XXXL. Like,
yeah, and then at that point it comes on Kevin's face where he's just like, he's like, oh shit, like what have I done? Like I've intimidated this guy. So he does like. He's just not in control of his emotions at all.
To be clear, the laws that we know them have been kind of turned upside down, not just of nature, but also just like the actual like legal laws. You know, we have the introduction of ATFEC, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, explosives, and cults.
Yes.
Which basically is fine with just like, you guys are in a cult, we're just going to wipe you out like termites.
Yes. So, I want to talk about that. You had some things to say about that, right?
I had some takes on ATFEC.
Real quick, he also smashes, he's at Matt's house, and he gets a phone call, and I don't remember what's about, but he uses like Matt's caretaker's phone.
Oh, right.
And then just smashes it.
Smashes the phone. Yeah.
And then she's like, what the
Destruction of personal property.
Yep.
All right.
He beats up.
He's building a good case here, so.
He beats up a member of the Guilty Remnant because he wants to go see his wife. I think this is in the pilot.
Oh, the silent bouncer. Yes.
It's after the protests, and he goes and he just like beats the shit out of him, and then he gets beat up. Smashes the bagel machine, so destroys police property because his bagel vanishes.
Right.
In the machine.
That wasn't like an industrial toaster for like a police. I mean, I haven't worked in too many like offices that have like break rooms, but like, is that standard for a break room? Like
I guess that kind of toaster? I don't know. It was like, you'd find that in like the back of a diner.
Yeah,
or something.
It's like you think they have a line outside.
Hey, the police budget. He tosses a baby Jesus doll out the window.
So you got littering.
Yeah, littering. Passes out drunk on a stakeout. He's like watching the Guilty Remnant. Gets some beers, falls asleep in his car.
Shout out to Yingling, by the way.
Shout out to Yingling. Is it Yingling?
It was Yingling, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He's drinking a lot of Yingling in the show. Shoots some dogs.
Yeah.
But I mean, that you could justify, I guess, because they're rabid. But he does it because, what's his name? Dean, his buddy, tells him to. Beats the shit out of Tommy's biological father in front of his son. And then also beats up a tree.
He does beat up a tree, yes, out in Cairo, New York, when he discovers that he's losing his mind.
Yeah, it's not even within his precinct or his, like,
Right.
Yeah, so that's Kevin. He's an angry guy.
So you'd say we should bring him up with some charges and release him of his duties?
I think just give him on a temporary suspension because he's,
Yeah.
He is not a bad cop.
He's not a bad cop. He's not like planting evidence on the guilty remnant. He's not like just like puts a kilo of heroin in like one of their houses and just calls the DEA, you know.
Right. He's more like he's just a loose cannon.
Right.
Yeah, so that's Justin Theroux's character.
Justin Theroux. That's Kevin Garvey.
It's a lot. I went on YouTube and they were like, it was like a 3-part series. The psychology of Kevin, and it was like 20 minutes each.
Solid video. Yeah.
You watched it?
I watched all of them. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Great.
Link in bio.
All right, cool. Yeah, link in bio. Probably not. Look it up on YouTube. The psychology of Kevin.
Just Google things.
Lori Garvey, Kevin's wife.
Kevin's wife, played by Amy Brenneman.
Yes.
Who I mainly know from playing Robert De Niro's girlfriend in Heat.
Oh, see, I haven't seen that yet. I got it.
There's a lot of things to watch.
Yeah, it's fine.
She's
great in this, though.
Yeah. She doesn't talk for the first 8 episodes at all.
Yeah, and she doesn't even say anything in the last episode. The only thing she says is Jill. Yeah,
I have some takes on that later on as we get into best and worst episode based on that scene. So,
oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm excited.
She does so much with her face, which is what acting is, just moving your lips and your eyes. And
just manipulating your emotions.
It's just moving your face and your eyes. Different positions. Yes. That's acting. You use your arms too and your body.
Yeah.
Not so much your legs. Unless you're like running.
No, legs are more of a theater thing. Yeah. Unless you're Kevin Garvey, you use your legs because you jog every minute of every day.
A lot.
She's in the guilty remnant.
Yeah.
And for reasons you don't know until the end.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, when she finds out that her unborn baby departed.
Yes.
Which is a horrible thing to consider.
We're not going episode by episode. I know we're just talking in general of the season, but that moment where she, I love that they don't, because she's getting an ultrasound done.
Right.
And you see the baby.
You see it.
And I don't know, I don't have like a good speaker system, so I don't remember if you can hear the heartbeat, the rhythm thing, like the like,
right. If they cut that out or not, yeah.
Because she's like, "Do you want to hear his heart or its heartbeat?" And she's like, "Yes." But then that music's playing, and then
I think all the sound effects kind of cut out. So just the look on her face when she just kind of looks over and like just sits up, like
right.
I mean, why else would she be doing that? So.
Yeah, they don't show the ultrasound with the baby gone.
You don't need to see that.
No, you don't need to see it. So that really messes her up, and also her marriage is pretty strained at that point. Like Kevin is like,
I don't know if in that flashback episode, like there's definitely like he's lying to her, and she wants a dog.
He feels trapped by his family. Yeah.
I will say a lot of, since she does not talk throughout the first season, mainly she uses notepads to write things. So writing is her main method of communication, but she has horrible handwriting. There are times I had to pause and realize, like, what did that say? She's like doing like loops for B's and just scribbles for R's, and so it's almost like equivalent of like her character having a stutter in a way. If you're not talking, but you have horrible handwriting, and
right.
So
yeah.
I don't know if that's an intentional choice.
Could have been, or I feel like a lot of the stuff I can't tell if it's intentional or not. If they're just like, oh, this is weird, let's just do this.
Right.
Like how much thought.
Yeah.
But one thing is that they all write very big on these pads of paper. They waste a lot of paper. I mean, I know you got to use Sharpie because you're not going to use like a Bic pen.
Interesting. I in preparation for this episode, I reread the pilot script.
Okay.
That was released. It's on the internet. It's the second draft, dated almost like a year before the show into production. So there's a lot of interesting things that they cut out or just moved around. And originally they had the guilty remnant, at least Patty, using iPads to communicate.
Oh,
so they just had not even the note app, but just some kind of drawing application where they just kind of just scribbled stuff and just showed each other iPads, which is kind of funny if you think if they all adapted that manner, they're all out in the field watching Nora Durst take her groceries in and be like, oh, my iPad ran out of power, so I can't little batteries around. Ultimately, it's a much better choice of using notepads. It's more tactile and just feels more authentic to what the guilty remnant represents.
Right. So Patty does have TVs in her HQ, but
you're just seeing stuff Florida's on fire and this guy rose from the dead apparently, and just all the shenanigans going on.
Something's going on in Florida. I don't know. Yeah, I made a note of that. I wanted to touch on that a little bit later.
Florida.
Let's talk about Florida.
Justin, do you want to go to Miami?
Yes, I'd love to. Fuck your daughter.
Fuck your daughter.
Fuck your daughter. Let's go to Miami. But Lori, she's in the guilty remnant, and at this point, I don't think I realized that the first time we watched it is that they're living in Kevin Sr.'s house. Because he's in an institution now.
That's not really clear until I think the second episode when he's like, how's my job? How's my house?
Yeah. Wait, because then I forgot, because then they do the flashback episode where in episode 9, where they flash back to the day of the departure.
The Garveys at their best.
Yeah. And like they live in a fucking mansion. A very clean, sterile, very nice place, because she's like a psychologist and he's police officer.
Not chief of police.
Yeah, no.
But there is a crack in the wall if you notice. So
I did notice that. Well, it's because he's punching things all the time.
Symbolism. Yeah. That's the season 1 artwork right there.
Yeah. He jumped up 4 feet in the air and punched.
He's actually on a ladder on this artwork.
He's like, he takes his shirt off, sets up the ladder, goes up there, and then just starts punching the wall.
Turns the photographer, make sure this is black and white.
Right, yeah.
Just brings out the despair.
Yeah. No, don't use a filter. I want black and white film. Yeah, very intentional. But yeah, she's great actor. And the first thing she says in I think 8 months, because Patty tests her at one point, tries to get her to talk, tries to see if she wants to quit. After Gladys is stoned to death,
right?
Which I want to talk about that, but as Jill, she yells out her daughter's name because Jill is the guilty remnant at this point. In the last episode, the compound's on fire.
That's one of the moments that always gets me every time I hear it. Just Jill.
Yeah.
And I'll say this: I think that flashback episode kind of undercuts that moment by letting us hear Laurie speak in the flashback, even though it chronologically takes place before all the action of season 1. It's still like,
I get that.
If that flashback episode didn't exist and we just went from Patty killing herself in Cairo and then to the next episode, and the first time we hear Laurie say a word is just screaming her daughter's name as she's trapped in a burning building, that would have been just like 10 times more powerful, I feel like. So
yeah, I feel like there's ways they could have done that where they didn't have to have her have a conversation, like, maybe she's just like, they're in bed, because I remember Kevin's like, I'm gonna go running, and you could tell there's like a distance between them.
So you're saying like in this, if we kept the flashback episode, but like Laurie just has like strep throat the entire thing, so she doesn't talk at all.
That, or every time like she tries to talk, like an 18-wheeler goes by and like just drowns her out.
She goes on a silent meditation retreat, for the whole episode.
She's always like choking on something or something. Yeah, it's like
constantly choking.
Yeah, they cut away. I mean, because I think I love that flashback episode. I think you need it. All right, I guess, I don't know. We'll
really get into the best and worst episodes later on, but
let's move on. We got a lot of people to cover. Tommy.
Tom Garvey.
Go ahead.
No, Tom Garvey. Yeah, let's go with him.
Yeah, played by Chris Zilkla.
Zilkla. He listens to the show. He's gonna hate us for
Zilka.
this. Zilka.
Yeah.
Kind of, I would say, like, honestly, by no fault of his own, the weaker part of season 1, just because of how far removed from the action him and Christine are.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the whole Holy Wayne. I like Holy Wayne himself, but that whole side story just felt weird.
I mean, it was all basically in service of having a baby show up on Kevin's doorstep so Nora could pick it up and like, look what I found, and let's start a new family, basically.
Yes.
So that was just a lot of heavy lifting to get to that moment. It was still a very powerful moment, but I wonder if I don't know. That's how the book ends. I think there was just kind of a desire by the creators just to end season 1 where the book ends.
Yeah. So, it was just, like you said, I agree. I think it was a lot of heavy lifting, and it wasn't quite believable that Tommy would go off and like, it seemed very fantastic to join this like militia cult.
Yeah.
Like
they go into the book a little bit, like he gets in on the ground floor with like the Holy Wayne cult. Like he's actually like seeing Wayne at the beginning when he's just like giving like, sparsely attended seminars in church basements, and then he's like works at like their San Francisco offices.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, but then like before then the book starts, like Wayne's already been arrested, but like Christine is pregnant, and he's like, oh, she's the chosen one, or she's got a miracle baby.
Yeah,
miracle.
So in the book is Holy Wayne, because in the show, Patty, played by Ann Dowd, she's just a patient of Laurie's, so she's kind of like nobody. And then she starts this cult. Is Holy Wayne, was he just like a normal person, and then he like that on the departure a switch flipped and all of a sudden he has this power?
I believe in the book that Holy Wayne's like a son vanished. He poofed, he poofed, as they call it. and that's kind of what inspired him to just start giving out hugs and taking people's pain away. I believe the first person he hugged his wife, and her pain was taken away from her to him. So that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah.
So his wife's a character in the book as well, a minor character. But it's not as, Tom Garvey in the book doesn't kill anybody, in the second episode, like one of those ATFEC SWAT guys, ATFEC SWAT, whatever it is. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, it's an interesting character. They definitely, I had a hard time getting a hold on, he refused a hug from Wayne. So why, and he was screaming in the pool.
Why is he there?
Yeah, why is he there? Yeah.
Because in the show, it just seems like he's nobody.
Yeah.
Wayne doesn't really seem... He knows his name, but he just sees him as a threat to, having sex with Christine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was definitely one of the weaker parts of the show.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those things with Lost, because every character, you knew it was going to be is this a Kate episode? Is this a Jack episode? And it's there's some characters where it's just it's their episode, and you're oh, fuck, I'm going to check out for the next hour.
Interesting thing about... Episode 4 of the show was actually half of it was reshot. They shut down production while filming.
Which the title of that episode?
The episode is episode 4, the BJ and the AC, which I believe stands for the Baby Jesus and the Antichrist. It's the Christmas episode.
Oh, when the baby gets stolen.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll notice that episode is directed by two people, and from what I read in interviews, is the Tom and Christine storyline in that episode, originally as they shot, was more focused on Tom, Christine, and that one soldier they talked to on the bus very briefly. You remember that before the bus stopped?
Oh, yeah.
They talked to a soldier.
Well, this is after that because they got kicked out of that hostel because that one guy was naked. And
I saw you in my dream, and you're walking amongst
Why are you in my dreams?
Bodies of white.
Yeah, you're walking over the dead.
Yeah. So apparently the original cut of that episode involved Tom, Christine, and this soldier who was apparently on his way to be in go off to the Middle East, because after the departure, the Middle East is such a screwed up place, because there are people convinced this is where the end of the world's going to happen. Yes. Or this is where Jesus is going to come back, or some shit's going to go down in the Middle East. So the military is just all over that, more than they are in real life. Such a fantasy show.
Yeah. So it's so weird how there's all this stuff happening globally, but we only see this tiny little speck of this town.
Yeah, you see on headlines in the background. Yeah. But anyway, long story short, the episode focused mainly on this soldier. It was kind of almost a special episode, focusing on this guy. And in the book, they were cribbing from sections of this same soldier where he kind of Tom and Christine are undercover as those barefoot people, those hippies with the bullseyes on their foreheads.
Yes. And
they actually convinced him just to quit the army and go back to San Francisco and just become a hippie who doesn't shower. Okay. And so that was the section of the book. I'm assuming there's some similarities to what they shot. Overall, interviews I read, it wasn't working, at least on the screen. So they shut down production. They refigured some things, and they reshot the rest of that episode. So nice. You can see remnants of it.
Remnants.
Guilty remnants.
You
can see guilty remnants. There's a teaser for the show that came out earlier in 2014. That's 30 seconds long. It's with Kevin Garvey narrating, and a weird poem about the departure.
Yeah.
And there was just a shot of Tom and Christine just having backpacks and just kind of walking through a town. And so it's obviously but that shot was never in the actual show itself. So it's that's just a part of that episode.
Okay.
So.
That would have been interesting, but I can see why they cut it, because there's so much else.
At that point, it's you're still kind of you're doing one episode at a time. People might tune out if they don't like one thing they say. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I missed the fact that, because did he see that other cult? That was somebody there with the bullseye in his head? Because
in the hospital, yeah.
Okay, I must have looked at my phone or something, because then I looked up, and I remember him doing that, but I didn't know if he made that up himself or somebody he saw.
They're also briefly seen in the pilot, just they're smoking weed at the parade, and then Kevin's put that out, and you just see they have the bullseyes on their forehead, so the creator can see them and strike them down. So
I love that moment though when he's sneaking around to the hospital because they think that he is abusing her,
right?
That Christine, because Holy Wayne, he's off with her and she's pregnant.
Right.
He's I'm going to make you invisible. And then drew the thing, and it's nobody wants to look at them. I thought that was really interesting.
It was effective. Yeah. Yeah. So his plan was just to all right, here's my plan. I'm going to run out of the hospital.
And hang out by a bus stop.
Yeah,
here's my big plan.
Yeah, here's my big plan. I'm going to run.
First, I'm going to punch this guy.
I'll come back,
and
then I'm
going to run.
Yeah.
Very doesn't think things through quite so much.
Right.
Jill Garvey.
Jill Garvey.
I love Jill.
Jill.
She's great. Jill. Oh, Jill.
Jill the
Just
Pill.
classic Jill the Pill. So they call her in the show.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
Angsty teen.
Yeah. She's living with her dad because her mom left and her brother's gone, but also like her best friend moved in, obviously.
Yeah. Did they ever? We might as well talk about her and Amy.
Yeah.
Did Amy's parents depart?
I don't believe they were mentioned that in the show. In the book, I believe maybe her mom departed.
Something she doesn't have a family situation because she's like living with the Garveys basically.
Right.
And then when they have that fight, she goes to like stay with.
You briefly see her like wearing like a fast food uniform. It's just like I guess she got a job. But
She's mostly just there for.
She's there as like a sounding board for Jill. Just to
Yeah.
kind of show the two extremes of like, you can be depressed and mope around, or you can just like do your high school stuff and hook up with hot guys and weird parties involving choking and burning yourself with forks.
Yeah, and then just weirding out Kevin. I couldn't tell if they were like trying to set up some kind of sexual tension between the two.
Right.
There's always these weird things where she would show up and she'd just be wearing a bra and Kevin would look at her and then it's like weird.
It's like, did you put Neosporin on like I asked you to?
Yeah. It's like weird. Well, there's even that moment where Jill confronts Amy in the park being like, did you fuck my dad?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I fucked your dad.
Yeah, a pile of guns.
And a pile of guns. Fuck you.
I'd watch that.
Yeah. So she she's upset because her mother's not there. She's going through a lot and she misses her brother. So it's basically Jill. She has an obsession with Nora, trying to like figure out
that whole
her
thing with
deal.
Nora was a little strange where they followed her in the second episode.
Yeah.
Almost like an excuse to like, let's bring the audience on a journey to see who Nora Durst is, because she's not really like connected to the Garveys yet. So like, let's have one of our family members follow her around and then they do that again where they find the gun in her house when she's out of town. A lot of like breaking and entering in the show.
A lot of beating.
And it's kind of tossed off, like the one guy, like after the guilty remnant breaks in everyone's houses and Kevin, like, they hear about it at city council being like, it happened. They're not like, if anything, that's like getting Al Capone on tax evasion is like they could get the guilty remnant on
B&E. Yeah. Well, and Kevin's like obsessed with the security system.
Yeah.
And he always has trouble with it. And he's always harassing Jill, like, please set the alarm when I leave. And so I don't know, like, you think about like the symbolism of a B&E, like what's the most like I don't know. I feel like that would make you feel incredibly vulnerable. It's like the ultimate, like, maybe not the ultimate, but the like crossing that boundary of like privacy and like, I don't know. Like that used to scare me the most growing up as a kid, is somebody breaking into my parents' house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's just like, and then you never feel safe again. So it's almost like just in this theme of like invasion and just like, I don't know.
There's been a violation, like on just the laws of nature, but also just our own personal safety.
Yeah. And also it makes sense too, because Mapleton doesn't look like it's great. Like outside Nora Durst's house, there's just the house across the street. It's all boarded up.
Yeah, and someone wrote like the words like where? Yeah, and the word 378.
Yeah.
Shout out to 378.
Yeah, shout out real quick to
378.
Yeah.
Very short highway, but takes you by the promenade.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
love it.
You love to drive it.
Yeah, you love to drive it. So we'll talk about Jill and Amy and her friends. Yeah, so all these teens are like, what are their names? Are Max and Charlie Carver, played by Adam and Scott Frost, the twins. Right? I love the twins.
Main characters, by the way, they were billed like, they're last they billed in the credit sequence, but like, I guess
a lot of screen time.
Yeah, a lot of screen time for them. Yeah, and
they were nice comic relief.
Yeah, you need that. You need like that Saul Goodman character on a show like this.
Dead dog in your trunk.
Yeah. Just want to play some ping pong.
Yeah, I love them, and they like have to drive the cool car, and they're just like, "You guys want to smoke some weed?" And like, we're already high.
Yeah, in the book, I read like half the book leading up to this podcast. I haven't finished it yet. I've read it before, but like they had like dreadlocks.
Oh,
and it was like a whole.
They're more like druggy.
Yeah.
dudes. They're like very preppy in the show.
Let's just dial it back a little bit.
Yeah. So. But yeah, all the teens. I watched like the behind the scenes. There was like a featurette that I think they've taken down since on HBO, and it was like after the pilot aired, they aired this like little 20-minute thing like of all the actors setting up the characters. Is
that the one where like the few of the actors turn on the camera and talk about like Roanoke and like random just like actual real life disappearances?
Yes. Yeah. That's the one.
That was the most love HBO ever gave to that show. We're like, let's just really do something interesting with the marketing.
Right.
But then after season 1, they're like, let's,
no, whatever.
Yeah. It's not going to win us any awards.
Yeah, it's like if they're not, if people don't like it after the first season, then
like the special features are decent on the season 1 Blu-ray, but like after that, there's no commentaries, there's no nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, all the kids are like partying really weird. There's that weird phone app. I think it's because they mention it in that featurette, but it's like it's very nihilistic, where it's like everybody feels like all bets are off,
right?
And especially the kids, because they're young, so they're just like, well, fuck it, we're just gonna fuck each other. Mm-hmm. We're gonna burn each other with forks. We're
gonna hang out in bathtubs.
Yep.
We're gonna watch Warner Brothers cartoons because Warner Brothers produces the show, and it's the cheapest thing we can get on the show on the television.
I can't think of the more nihilistic thing than to watch Warner Brothers cartoons.
Smoke a blunt, drink some vodka, and watch some Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
I have the script right here for the party scene. It's kind of funny, actually.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. What are you talking about? That? Yeah. They there's that whole thing where it's that weird phone app which is not real.
You looked it up. You looked it up.
Yeah, I don't think it's real. Store? Yeah, it would have been cool if they made that for like a viral marketing for the show.
Yeah, play with your friends. It's like spin the bottle, but it just instead of just kissing, it just says like choke your partner while he masturbates.
Yeah, and that whole scene where her and that like scuzzy kid, he's just like she's just choking him while he's jerking himself off, and she's just crying.
Yeah. You mind if I jerk off?
God, the show just like beats you down.
Here's they describe the party in the pilot script. Interior, the most effing epic party ever -night.
Wow.
A throng of sweaty teenagers grinding into each other with youthful abandon.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you.
Siri doesn't like it.
You have searched grinding.
Anyway.
Yeah. That's funny though. Mm-hmm. It's like this is going to be the most epic party.
Right.
The way they shoot it, it seems like
and then every party after that was just like, let's just hang out on the beach and just like set a bonfire.
We've had enough.
Yeah. We got a Nerf gun.
Yeah. We're gonna have a burial at sea for the baby Jesus.
Oh, let's just go to the woods, just like hang out by an old fridge and just lock each other in it and see
the fridge scene. Yeah. Oh my god.
Fucking fridge scene.
Yeah. So all the teens, I don't know, the way they're handling things is very interesting. So we touched on Nora Durst really quick, but let's get into her and Matt.
Durst. Yes.
Nora Durst is my favorite character on the show. Carrie Coon is a fucking godsend.
And the fact that she just kind of almost came out of nowhere. Like I was not familiar with her work before then.
Me neither. She was filming this and Fargo at like the same time.
Oh, the final season. Yeah.
Was the first season of Fargo that she was in, right?
No, she was in the third season of Fargo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So maybe that
the one with Ewan McGregor.
Oh, it might maybe the
third. I think they were filming this and like the final season of The Leftovers and season 3 of Fargo is almost like back to back because they aired almost back to back.
That's just crazy because I don't know. She was great. I loved her in Fargo.
I believe she has a theater background. She's married to the playwright Tracy Letts.
Okay.
Also, I think this year, 2014, like that fall, she was in the movie Gone Girl. Ben Affleck.
Oh,
she played the sister.
Yes.
Yeah,
she was great.
So
it was like the best part of the movie.
Every fan of The Leftovers, like, we knew who she was first. Before, you bandwagoner. Carrie Coon bandwagoners.
Nora Durst, she's the one in Mapleton who lost her entire family.
Yeah.
So everybody's kind of this weird aura around her. It's like, ooh, she's poor her, you know.
I mean, it's a horrific thing to think about.
Yeah.
Just like the whole family just vanishing, and we seen the flashback. Like she wasn't a fan of her family at that moment. You know, they were both pissing her off.
Yeah, so. The kid spilled orange juice on her iPhone.
On her phone.
2 hands. God damn it.
Her husband's just like, whatever. I'm just texting. You know, just like sexting that preschool teacher or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Whatever. Mm-hmm. And then the kids are screaming. She's trying to. She went on a job interview. So the mayor. Lucy Warburton is calling her back, played by Amanda Warren, just offering her the job, and so she's freaking out, and then they just boop.
Briefly back on the book, did you know that in the book, Kevin Garvey is the mayor of Mapleton?
Oh, you mentioned that. Okay.
Yeah, which was changed for a number of reasons. One was, I believe they wanted to have a main character who had more of an active focus in terms of dealing with the guilty remnant. You know, the mayor's not going to be going to like the compound and like saying, hey, here's some whistles, let us know if someone's attacking you with rocks.
Yeah.
The second reason being, it would have been kind of strange if Kevin Garvey was also dating his father, as he does as the mayor does.
Oh, yes, it would have been.
It would have been really weird. I don't think America's ready for that kind of incest.
I don't think so.
Brother and sister is fine, at least acceptable, but like
right.
father-son incest.
Yeah. No, we're not there yet.
A little weird.
Like we need
someday, but
we need another 50 years of being groomed by the shadow government before that's accepted into the public consciousness. So. Oh yeah, no, yeah, she's great. So yeah, she arguably she's like a celebrity in Mapleton, a very like bleak version of a celebrity. She has to speak at Remembrance Day,
Heroes Day.
Heroes Day. Yeah.
It's where they remember. Yeah.
There's a really fun quote. I don't remember who said it. I wrote it down though. I think somebody was criticizing somebody for calling it Heroes Day, and it's like it's Heroes Day, not what the fuck happened day. I thought that was really funny. It was probably Justin Theroux. Who's also always late to meetings because nobody tells him about anything and he charges in.
It's a little weird, but I guess it's just like more dramatically interesting instead of him just like showing up on time and just like making small talk with the fire commissioner. Just like so it's like, oh, if he's running late, then he can just barge in while it's mid meeting, and
he's got a lot on his shoulders.
Yeah,
and the mayor just like she's like, oh, we need to do these public events, and he's like,
Kevin Garvey fucking up again.
Yep. Well, yeah, it was like, she's like, the town's ready to like move on. It's like they're not ready to move on; they're ready to fucking explode, which they do.
Hashtag 2019.
Hashtag 2019. Yes. Carrie Coon, she's amazing. Nora Durst, she a lot of mystique around her. Her and Kevin end up having a fling.
A fling that develops.
This season 1, they don't really define it. She carries a gun and she hires prostitutes to shoot her in the chest.
Named Angel.
All of them are named Angel?
I'm sure that's
that
the
one
way
was.
she gets. Yeah, that one was.
Yeah,
if you're going to do a religious show and have a hooker, her name has to be Angel.
Right.
Which is, if you don't do that, you're basically committing creative malpractice.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. And then her brother Matt, who is the local preacher.
Matt Jameson.
Or priest?
Priest.
I think they were a
guy who works at a church.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not Methodist. I forget what he says they are. I don't know. But anyway. Yeah, his church is... Man of God, yeah. His church is not doing well, obviously, because this vacuum was created after The Departed where nobody knows what to believe in.
Right.
So his services are lightly attended. He owns this church that he inherited from his father.
I believe so, yeah.
And is struggling to keep it open. He is also going around town, and a lot of people think it's the rapture, and he's trying to tell people it's not the rapture because all these people who disappeared were not good people.
They're like, she sold drugs, he took bribes.
Made all these flyers with their photos on them, telling all of the sins that they committed. Yeah, which people are a huge fan of. Yeah.
Well, one thing in this recent rewatch I was wondering was, Matt obviously wins a lot of money at the casino.
Oh, I love that episode.
In an attempt to buy his church back from the bank. But when the guilty remnant ends up having bought it ahead of him, he's stuck with basically a manila envelope full of cash.
Yes.
We never know what he does with that money. They never go into that.
Well, I assumed he paid for that Xerox machine in his house.
Exactly. Because how else do you get those big Gladys posters that, that are like we don't remember her and all that? He basically paid for printing.
Because he was using the church one and then it was out of ink.
That was going out. Bad cartridges, ink all over his fingers. So
let's talk about that episode really quick because that's a mad episode.
Yes.
What's the name of it?
That name is Two Boats and a Helicopter.
This is the episode that sold me on the show.
Yeah.
The first 2 episodes I was like, all right, the acting is really great.
Yeah.
I don't know where this is going.
A lot of snow on the ground, kind of cold.
Yeah. It was I was enjoying it, but I was like, well, I'll probably stick with it, but it was this episode that fucking floored me of just the despair.
Yeah, and just the hyper-focused character episodes, which were essentially like short stories set in this world, and I think better than just cutting from A story to the B story to the C story, and let's check in on everybody. Let's go over to Daenerys Targaryen, see what she's up to, and then let's go to the Iron Islands to see what they're up to. No, we're just going to focus on one character, go through
a day in their life,
a couple hellish days in their life, and end in a great song by Hozier.
At the end? Take me to church.
Take me to church.
It's the worst part of the episode.
Yeah.
I don't like it when shows, like Game of Thrones did it a little bit, but at least they changed the songs to where, I think, what was her name? fuck, I can't remember that. The Icelandic band, like folk band.
Sigur Rós?
Sigur Rós was in an episode, and they did they had a very small part. You wouldn't even know it was them. They did another song I think they played, but it was like they converted it into like kind of like a kind of medieval
mandolin tune. Or
like I like that stuff. But it's like at the end of that episode, it's like such a heavy moment, and then to have that fucking song, which it's like it was a big hit in 2014 or 2015,
basically, yeah.
But it's just like so on the nose.
Probably owned by Warner Brothers in some way. It's
I hated it.
The song's number one on the top 40. Let's throw it in our next big hit, The Leftovers.
Ugh.
They get the kids love that music.
The kids love that music. Yeah, the kids are gonna love this show about grief.
Grief and despair.
Yeah, when he almost loses the church. Yeah, and then he comes up with that plan to win the money back. Or he looks at
I love that. Yeah,
the red light with the birds, and he's just like, I'm gonna bet everything on red.
Right. And like he bets like the first was like 50 grand or whatever, and he makes like 100 grand.
And because he digs the money out of Kevin Garvey's
in the peanut butter jar.
Which there's more money in there.
Was there?
Yeah.
Oh, you just took
he
some
only
of it.
takes like some of it, and it's like, why don't you just take all that money?
All of it.
But probably not enough. But
right.
I don't understand what the jar. I forget what the reason was. It was like a minister or something that they.
I think the money, the peanut butter money jar.
It was dirty money.
Right? Name of the podcast.
Yeah, peanut butter money jar.
Peanut butter money jar. It had the flyer for there was like a judge that took bribes.
Oh, it was a judge. Okay.
Yeah,
and he's like, "This belongs to you."
But I think it was implied that maybe like Kevin Garvey Sr. like either gave or accepted some of those bribes.
Yeah.
So that's why that money was there.
But there was a note for the Reverend.
Yeah, it's like, you deserve this, or yeah.
So there's like a big wad of money buried in the yard, and so he digs up some of it and takes it to the casino.
Right. After he wins the third time at the roulette table, there's like the shot of like the ball going on the wheel and it's turning. You're looking at like the dealer and the other people, and you don't know if he won or lost. And it has like that long shot that has like holds on Matt like this close up on his face, and he's got like just like a stone poker face.
Oh my god! Yeah.
And then just breaks into this huge smile, and the music kicks in. You just
like you don't need. It's like the ultrasound. You don't need to see the roulette.
Right.
You just see the look on their face and rely on the acting.
Yeah. You could almost watch that episode with like no sound on. You probably have a good idea what's going on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So good. I love that. And then I'm just every time I watch that episode, I'm like, just leave, drive away, and that fucking couple just beats the shit out of him.
Hey man, we need some gas to get to Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
You know?
But then he beats the shit out of that guy.
Yeah.
I think
he's probably dead.
Probably dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he still gets away with the money. And then what is it? He's in a car accident?
Well, he sees a guilty running member gets hit in the head with a rock, and he pulls over to help them out. And, no good deed goes unpunished. And the guy, like, backs his Jeep up at, like, 50 miles an hour. And there's another rock.
A lot of rocks
His
flying.
Wrangler just goes very well in reverse.
And then...
Good ad for Jeep right there.
Right. And he wakes up in the hospital, and
he has a pretty crazy dream.
Yeah, crazy dream. I don't remember what it is.
It's, like, basically kind of filling in some backstory gaps of, like... him as a child with going to the doctor and like
cancer,
leukemia, and his house burning down when Nora is there.
Yeah,
and then
they lose their parents,
and then he's like having sex with Laurie Garvey for some reason. I guess
I forgot about that.
Like she's just like flashes in there briefly.
That's weird.
And also revealing that he was in the car that got into an accident in the pilot episode. In the background, remember the woman who loses her baby in the very first scene? There's a car accident in the background.
Oh, I love that.
They reveal like, oh, that was his car. Mary was driving. So.
Yes, I love that scene. That was really good. Yeah, and then he wakes up a day. It was like a week later.
Yeah, Matt, we were talking on Monday. Today's Thursday.
Yeah. So heartbreaking. And then he finds out the guilty remnant bought his fucking church, and they just stare at him. And
it's interesting that episode ends. It begins.
And then, David Church! It's like horrible. I hate it so much.
That episode begins with he putting up the marquee. I think he puts up in letters, "He is always with you."
Yeah.
But then the episode ends with Patty taking down the marquee letters, implying that he is not always with you because he's gone. He's
gone.
He is always with you, but now he's not with you.
Nope.
See,
we won.
It's a bookend.
Oof.
So I think those are the major characters. I don't know if we got to go in.
Yeah, I was just gonna like shoot down the list really quick because we're coming up on the end of this part.
Yeah.
But yeah, Meg Abbott, played by Liv Tyler,
part
of the Guilty Remnant. She joins them later on. She ends up having a bigger role in later seasons.
Right, but she's like full on committed by the end. Like that look in her eyes, like we made them remember.
Yes.
So
Patty Levin,
Patty Lavin
played by Ann Dowd.
Ann Dowd.
Who I'll never trust again because she was in Hereditary.
That's right, yeah.
And I was like, there's something up with her because
Yeah.
she's Patty Lavin.
You were right.
She gets typecast.
She was up to all kinds of hijinks in Hereditary.
Michael Gaston. Gaston.
Yeah.
Who plays the mysterious stranger shooting all the dogs.
Right. He's like that. He's got that bulging lip from like all the chewing tobacco.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't care about his
They're not our dogs anymore. Yeah.
What the fuck you waiting for?
Yeah. One, Chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about Amy.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Lucy Warburton, who's just like, politics, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're trying to hold this town together. Let's move on. Unveils the horrifying statue. I love that she says it's horrifying. It's like, I'm told it's terrifying. So let's move on.
It's funny. The guy who unveils that statue in the pilot is actually played by the author Tom Perrotta, who wrote the book. So it's kind of like he's unveiling his own work.
Yeah, that's
in
fun.
a way, but it's also like everyone hates it. So
Yeah. Was there a big controversy with this book when it came out? Like,
I don't recall. I wouldn't imagine. I mean, maybe
you
some
said
outspoken.
Everybody
like,
hates it. Like,
oh no, I was just saying it was probably like an in joke. Just like he's
okay.
playing like the guy did the sculpture in the show, and
Yeah.
it's like his artwork he's unveiling.
Okay.
He's also like unveiling the first episode of the pilot. So
Yeah.
there's probably some connection there.
awful statue.
It's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. I love the jokes they sneak into
It's
this.
a very funny show.
Okay, and then we have Mary Jameson, who's Matt's wife, who is...
Oh, by Janelle Maloney from
Yes.
The West Wing.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's, she just doesn't do anything in this
Easiest
season.
job as an
sits
actor to
there
have,
and-
yeah.
Yeah, since the accident, she's
No
basically
lines,
catatonic.
just don't break character,
Right.
you know?
And then Gladys, arguably the... I did not like Gladys up until the point where she's brutally murdered, which we'll get
When
into
she
in the
finally
next
breaks
part.
and she's
Yeah.
like, please stop.
Because they showed her in a lot of the trailers, and she just seemed the most ruthless because you didn't know her backstory. And then
Right.
I felt like, what does this say about me? That, like, really, like, I don't know. She just always seems so smug. I hated the Guilty Remnant. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck you. Like, I didn't get their whole thing where it's like, yeah, stop antagonizing him. I was totally, like, on Garvey's side, but I guess what you want.
That was a common complaint, just like a criticism, like who are the guilty remnant? Why are they doing this? You know, like what?
Yeah.
Why people? A guy would go on message boards and people like, why are people doing this? Why aren't they acting logical? Like 140 million people just vanished. You're expecting us to act like nothing happened? I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of get where they're going about that, and like as a
Yeah.
former smoker, I'm like, it kind of sounds kind of good to be able to just smoke all day, you know,
Strip away everything.
not to worry about what I gotta wear in the morning.
Right,
Just
right.
White wardrobe. I did find it funny that like there's a shot of the schedule in one of the houses for the Guilty Remnant. It has like from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. sustenance. So for 1 hour, they get to eat a bowl of oatmeal, basically.
Gruel.
Gruel,
Yeah.
yeah. 1 hour for sustenance.
Yeah, I think
That's
Good.
a lot.
I'm glad you looked that up because I was
Yeah.
going to look at their schedule. And I was like,
That's all you can really make out. And the rest is just
Yeah.
like surveillance.
yeah.
Brooding looks. Yes. 3 to 4.
Right, yeah. Cool. That concludes part 1. We're gonna chop this up.
Yeah.
Keep on listening. We're gonna get into like our opinions and our favorite episodes in the next part, and maybe go more into just our favorite parts of the show.
Yeah, I've got some things to say about some of the imagery laced throughout
Yeah.
the season.
I want to talk more about Guilty Remnant.
The filmmaking, the music.
Yes.
And how the season succeeds or fails as a unit of media
Right.
on its own.
Exactly.
Some people call television like 10-hour movies. I hate that idea, but that's just one way of looking at it.
That's the direction we're headed.
Yeah, I might call television a bunch of 1-hour films. No, movie. Can we cut this out?
No.
No. I failed that
It's
analogy,
the ending.
Justin.
Yeah, you're fine. No, say it. You would call...
You call a season of television like a 10-hour movie, but you can call a movie a like third of a TV show.
Oh, okay. Fuck you, movies.
Yeah.
Take that. All right, on that note, we're going to take this moment to end, and then we'll go into part 2.
All right.
Okay. We'll see you in a bit.
Later.
Maybe. Bye.